We have Dr. Richard Kunin back with us again this morning. Dick, thanks for being here. He is the co-founder of the Orthomolecular Health Medicine Society with Dr. Linus Pauling in 1976, and now the president of the organization. He's the author of Mega Nutrition, the developer of Ola Loa, and practices here in San Francisco for you lucky people who can see him. If you've got a complex illness that nobody's figuring out, that's where I send my people. So thanks for being here.
It's true, but I'd love to have some easy cases left.
That'll be the day.
And that's why I'm offering I've decided to go back into the group model, the health education class, or the health.
Well, I think that's a good way to go.
Health nutrition class.
I'm leaning the same way myself.
Well, you've invented it. The Health Medicine Forum is your educational outreach, and it's imperative because, you see, that's the answer to today's breakneck rush towards poverty, towards not the war on poverty, but the descent into poverty, because we're wasting so much money on things that don't work.
I know.
And what works is self-care, teaching people what they need to know to be able to do most of it for themselves.
Is there any more medicine?
Where nutrition medicine shines.
Is there any drug anywhere that's ever been invented that does what lifestyle does to maintain wellness and to restore our health?
It doesn't even come close. And that's been known, as you well know, since Maimonides' famous expression, anything that can be cured by nutrition should not be treated by any other means.
Exactly.
It's nothing new. Yeah. All that's new is world government and cartels and a tightly restrictive medical cartel that is trying to dictate the limits of medical knowledge from above, rather than letting it come from the doctor-patient relationship, which is of equal. I didn't say it's the only value. I didn't say the NIH isn't worth, or the FDA isn't worth their salt. I just said
you can leave me
that they shouldn't have it all, because if they have it all, they go power mad and begin to believe their own stuff.
You can listen to me sometime talk about. I'll disagree with you. I think they're as corrupt as they can be, and it's very disappointing to see what we're allowing to happen as doctors and as people of our community. It's a
but
disaster.
Doctors are enslaved. They're afraid to make a move. They're afraid to go into this. Even the people that come to our meetings have a hard time following up on it. In fact, that's one reason why I've struggled. I've been quiet for 10 years as I'm tightening up this model for health medicine of malnutrition, pollution, and stress on the diagnostic side. We can categorize diagnosis of nutrients, the diagnosis of the poisons that are in your body, the diagnosis of the relative function of your organs, like that glucose tolerance test we talked about earlier, which is a stress test. Other nutrition stress tests, we need more of them in order to understand where your body is already damaged. That's why the hormonal stuff is so important, because people have the endocrine glands get injured early in life. It's not well known. Vitamin A deficiency in childhood can leave you with permanent damage to your adrenal glands.
Wow.
They never recover fully from certain, especially if you have an illness is one thing, but to have an illness when you're vitamin deficient at the same time, or vitamin A deficient, we know vitamin A deficiency, once it hits you, if you don't die, you do live, you're never the same.
Right.
And that's why this foolishness about limiting the dose to 1,000 or 1,500 units, when the liver contains 10 million, and to refill it up at 1,000 units a day is 1,000 days.
That's right.
And you only absorb half, so it's really 2,000 days. Well, you don't live long enough to fill your liver up. And if you get a hit from dioxin or DDT or some halogenated poison, boom, you lost half of it.
Or something like influenza virus. Who do you think are the people that die? They're vitamin A deficient.
That's right. The same for measles. This is all proven stuff.
For most illness. If you don't have a healthy defense against disease, then the organism wins. And it's about that simple. It's
Absolutely.
Not the past year Beauchamp argument, one saying it's the microbe that kills and the other saying it's the internal milieu, the internal environment that protects. It's both those factors, but we forget about the one that has to do with the defenses of the body. And doctors aren't taught to think that way. And so, consequently, we're a disease care model, not a health care model.
But also, we're not teaching our patients, by and large, as a profession. The medical profession is not only not teaching it, they're actually interfering with it. They're saying, "Oh, expensive urine," or they say, "Oh, vitamin A that'll cause birth defects," and they're throwing the public way off the track. And that's why, like these your health medicine forum, where people get a personal contact with experienced people like you and me, pal, I mean, just calling it like it is, or like the workshops I'm going to, my health nutrition classes, those are invaluable because people can ask these questions, and in that smaller forum you can give a more personal and more open kind of a response. Even on the air here, where we're letting ourselves go a bit today, if we were more famous, we'd be monitored right here and now. First time I got into Prevention Magazine, I was censured by my medical society within days, and they didn't even tell me. Well, I had to read about myself in the paper.
It's changing a little bit.
Sure.
I remember 20 years ago when I gave a talk at my hospital where I was practicing on what was going to happen in medicine, my predictions, which, by the way, came true. I got a standing ovation from a standing room only audience because I was a mainstream doctor there who was engaged with a lot of patients there and working in ICU and CCU, so highly respected for that, coming out and saying that we're in deep trouble and that the model that we practice is the wrong one because it's too expensive, it's dangerous, and it doesn't work because we've got an epidemic of chronic diseases here. So what those people heard there was very exciting for them in the moment. They congratulated me when it was over. 6 weeks later, they said, yeah, that Dr. Saputo, he went around the bend, and now he's practicing this thing called wellness, which we think is crazy because everybody's sick. Well, somebody had to do something to wake up that group, and I think over the last 20 years, you have done a lot, Dick, Dr. Kunin, to explore that and deepen it, so that we have now a group of doctors who are beginning to realize that we've lost the art of medicine. We don't have the time that we used to have to practice with our patients. We don't listen and care like we used to, and we don't pay attention to the basics of wellness. They know that, and the younger people are doing something to make a change in that. And you're one of the biggest leaders in the world on that.
Well, I need to be heard from more, and it's my fault. I haven't published more, but I didn't feel ready. You can kind of tell I'm getting militant. I'm ready.
All you have to do is make one mistake, and they'll be all over you.
Yeah, that's right. But that's why you have to be sure that your message is worth sacrificing for. Let's put it that way.
Well, we both think it is
a needed message.
It's worth it.
The message I wanted to make sure I didn't overlook in this case is that really ultimately self-care, meaning education of the public, is our true mission. Yes, the office visit is important, but it's not always affordable. The health nutrition class is affordable. We can do the laboratory right there. People can pick up the part we're doing because it's nutrition. It's not legally considered medicine. I can do it in public.
That's right.
And that changes the whole name of the ball game. So this is we didn't invent self-care, for God. Just look at the internet, plug in self-care. There are people, brilliant people, that have been there before us.
Yeah.
But it takes me a long time. It took 2 years to get to nutrition after my grad student told me, Dick, try megavitamins. Now it's taken me 40 years to get to self-care because I was a doctor.
Yeah, right.
I couldn't get out of my own belief system. So I'm not putting anybody down. I'm well aware of human limitations. But here's self-care. I was talking about the listen to your body diet. It's an essential part of taking care of yourself. What works for you? How do you find out? And here's what you need to know. For some people, protein, they need more. And some, they need less. And the same goes for fats and carbohydrates. Too much protein, for people that can't handle it, they get a thing called homocysteine. The homocysteine is a reactive protein fragment that actually then looks for a partner in the wall of the blood vessel. It attacks the wall of the blood vessel. It attacks enzymes. It strips copper right out of the cells. If homocysteine in the cells pulls the copper out of the cytochrome, causes chronic fatigue. It's a proximate cause of chronic fatigue.
It causes inflammation of the blood vessel
wall. We see so many
wall.
things on that one. And that's why I developed the Olaloa product. It was designed at least to take care of proteins. America tends to eat too much protein, so here you were protected from that. Whatever other vitamins you're going to take, that part is taken care of. Then we saw fats. Too much fat, you get a high viscosity blood. It turns to curdle. It turns to a creamy substance. Your blood does.
You can look at the live blood cell analysis and see it.
And it causes low blood flow ischemia, which is a powerful inducer of clotting.
Uh-huh.
So that's why the high fat, the saturated fat, is rightly, you want to limit it. You need some, but you don't need to overdose on it.
How much do you need, Dick? How
the
much?
antidote, by the way, the antidote is niacin. Niacin and heparin. They strip those fats out of your blood almost immediately. Incredible. And of course, with the homocysteine, the B12, folic acid, and above all, the TMG, the betaine, that nobody has in their vitamins. Ololoa is one of the only ones that has a whole dose of betaine in one packet of this good tasting stuff that we call Ololoa, which, by the way, means a happy, healthy life. It's a Hawaiian word. You're supposed to dance when you say Ololoa, because that's a happy road to health.
We'll put you in a grass skirt.
And then you get to the carbs. And what do the carbs do? The carbs turn into fat in your body promptly, especially fructose.
Yes.
And so in that regard, it acts like a fat. But more than that, it goes to the pancreas. Fructose goes to the liver. Glucose goes to the pancreas. They both are demons. If you in overdose means about a large size Coca-Cola, 40, 50 grams, and for sure 2 of them. But 1, your body can stand it if you don't do it all the time.
Yeah.
And there they oxidize the pancreas. They cause the pancreas to turn off, in case you didn't know. So the big dessert, yes, it tells you you're done eating. It's nice at the end of the meal, but not too much. Usually you share the dessert.
You're not
you have a
going to
little.
digest.
The sweet will stop you from eating more. And that's using it intelligently. But if you overeat the dessert, if you ever noticed, all of a sudden you blow it up and get sick.
Exactly.
So that's 2 ways to have that dessert, right? And 2 ways to have carbs. You get too much of them, you're that way all the time, and then you go diabetic because the free radicals in the pancreas burn out the beta cells first. They're fragile. And then you can't eat sugar anymore.
So you wind up with
Mother
something
Nature's
called
punishment.
the metabolic syndrome, which
Right,
is a
and
precursor
then
to type 2 diabetes.
Your glycation index, meaning the glucose is there, it doesn't digest, it now starts sticking to the wall of the vessels, to the cells, and you get a whole different reason to have your heart attack and stroke. And your premature aging. So you got to know what works for you. Some people some people have a pancreas that could digest a mountain of sugar, and another has to be careful to keep it down under 60 grams, under 3 or 4, or 2 fruits a day. Period.
We're out of time again,
Okay,
Dick.
well, there you
We're
go.
always out of time
Now,
because
come
we're having
to
a
the group.
good time.
The group will make this. You need practice with it to get this stuff.
You're listening to Dr. Richard Kunin, who is the co-founder of the Orthomolecular Health Medicine Society. He's here in San Francisco. You can see him at his office at 415-346-2500. 415-346-2500. Dick, thanks for a great week.
Well, indeed, Lenny, it's been a great pleasure and an honor to be with you.